If something copies your thoughts, how do you hide? I will not name this national park or even the part of the country, because I do not want federal agents knocking on my door one morning demanding that I sign non-disclosure agreements. I will say only this: if you ever, after getting lost in the thick of a forest where the pines block out the sky, see perfectly clean white wooden stairs simply standing in the middle of moss and leading nowhere, never, do you hear me, never climb them. It is not an architectural mistake. It is a threshold to a place from which no one returns. My name is Michael, I am 23, and that summer I took a seasonal job with the Forest Service. My work was simple: sit in fire tower number 13, a 40-meter-tall iron skeleton rising above an endless sea of dark pine. My task was to watch the horizon in order to spot smoke in time. The tower was a tiny glass box raised above the world, furnished only with a desk, a metal cabinet, an old bed, and a large Motorola radio that constantly hissed with static. All around, hundreds of miles of wilderness, where the trees stand so densely that half-darkness always reigns below. When the sun began to set beyond the horizon, painting the forest the color of dried blood, I felt the first stirrings of anxiety. The isolation here was physical. You were like on an island in the middle of an ocean, except instead of water there were endless treetops swaying in the wind. I checked the water and food supplies, trying not to look down through the glass floor. But just as the last rays of light faded, the radio on the desk, which was supposed to remain silent until morning, suddenly came alive. Through the crackle of electrical interference, I heard a voice, and that voice made my heart stop.
Michael, are you on the line? This is Steve from tower number 12. Over. We have a problem here. It seems to be heading toward you.
I froze. According to my documents, tower number 12 had been decommissioned and standing empty for more than 10 years. My fingers trembled as I pressed the response button. The small room smelled of old paint and ozone from the radio. Steve? But Tower 12 isn't operational. Who is this? My voice cracked, echoing off the 4 glass walls.
Stop joking, kid.
The voice on the radio sounded exactly like that of an old experienced ranger. Confident, with a raspy accent and a hint of irritation.
Listen carefully. I see a large target through the thermal scope. A grizzly bear, but it's behaving strangely. It just ran past my tower and is heading straight for your stairs. Look through your binoculars. It should already be at the base.
I grabbed the heavy military binoculars and stepped toward the window facing west. My eyes had adjusted to the darkness. I focused the lenses on the base of my tower, expecting to see the massive dark form of a predator. But what I saw was not a bear. At the edge of the light from my flashlight, right beside the iron ladder, stood something blindingly white. It was a long, emaciated creature on 4 limbs, completely devoid of fur. Its skin resembled wet, translucent rubber, through which long, thin bones were visible. It moved in jerks, and its knees and elbows were bent the wrong way, joints outward. This creature was not sniffing the ground like an animal. It slowly raised its head, which had neither eyes nor mouth, only a flat white surface, and began slowly dragging its fingers along the metal stairs, climbing upward. The radio exploded with static again, but this time the sound was different. It was the sound of my own breathing, recorded and played back with a 1-second delay. And then Steve's voice said something that made my hair stand on end.
Michael, the bear is already on the first flight. Open the floor hatch. I'll be there in a minute to help you pull up the equipment. It'll be better if we're together, won't it?
I jumped back from the hatch that was the only entrance to my glass prison. It was a heavy metal square secured with a latch. Whoever was speaking to me through the radio was not Steve. The creature below was already halfway up. I could hear its long claws scraping against the steel stairs. I turned off the flashlight, hoping to become invisible in the darkness. But the room began filling with a strange, cold gray fog seeping through the cracks in the windows. The fog did not disperse. It gathered in the corner, forming a tall, semi-transparent figure without clear contours. It looked like smoke trying to become human. The radio on the desk no longer carried Steve's voice. It was broadcasting the sounds of my own mind. 10 seconds earlier, I had thought, I need to barricade the hatch with the cabinet, and immediately from the speaker came my own voice, distorted by interference. Need to barricade the hatch, Michael. It was the fog mimic. It did not simply repeat sounds, it fed on my thoughts, turning them into audio signals. I rushed to the heavy metal cabinet, bracing my feet against the floor and pushing it over the hatch. The cabinet slammed down over the metal cover just as a powerful udar sounded from below. The tower shook. Something incredibly strong had struck the hatch so hard that the cabinet jumped. From beneath the hatch came sounds like a broken radio receiver, a mixture of a woman's scream, white noise rain, and my own childhood laughter. The creature began clawing at the metal from below, and I saw thin, white, needle-like fingers trying to slip into the gap between the floor and the hatch. And then the sounds from below suddenly stopped, and in the complete silence the radio carried the voice of my mother, who had died 5 years earlier.
Michael, sweetheart, open the door. It's raining so hard outside and I forgot my keys. You wouldn't leave your mom in the forest, would you?
I covered my ears with my hands, sliding down the wall. The entire world around the tower disappeared. No forest, no sky, only this endless gray fog beyond the glass. Each new dar from below grew stronger. The metal of the hatch began to deform, bending under the pressure of the white abomination. The cabinet above trembled, and the objects inside rattled as if at the epicenter of an earthquake. It's not Mom. It's not Mom. I whispered under my breath, trying not to think about how she had looked in the coffin, but the radio instantly picked it up.
It's not Mom, Michael, but I look so much like her. Look at me.
I looked at the window and nearly fainted. On the other side of the glass, at a height of 40 meters where there were no supports, hung the same white figure. Its inverted knees pressed against the frame, and its flat face was pressed to the glass. Where nostrils should have been, it had 2 pulsing black holes glowing with a faint phosphorescent light. It had no mouth, yet the sound came directly from its skin, a vibration that made the glass crack. It began imitating the sound of shattering glass, so real that I began inspecting the windows for cracks. It was a game of endurance. It was waiting for me to give up, for my brain to fail under the strain. Hours passed like years. I held the cabinet with my whole body, feeling every scratch and every false voice from the radio. The entire assortment of my memories was used against me. When the first thin stripe of light appeared on the horizon, the sounds began to change. They grew thinner, higher, turning into ordinary static. The white figure outside the window began to melt, dissolving into the morning mist, and the creature beneath the hatch released one final long sound, like a broadcast sign-off tone. When the sun finally rose above the trees, I moved the cabinet aside. The hatch was bent, deep claw grooves etched into the metal, filled with a strange gray liquid that evaporated before my eyes. I climbed down without taking my belongings and ran to my car, not looking back at the white stairs standing 100 meters from the tower. I thought it was the end. I was wrong. A week later, I was sitting in my cozy apartment in the city center. The television was running in the background, showing the morning news. I was drinking coffee, finally feeling safe. Suddenly, the TV screen filled with static. The anchor fell silent, her face dissolving into gray fog. From the speakers, cutting through the noise of commercials, came the same painfully familiar voice from the radio. It was clear, without interference, and it whispered directly into the back of my head.
You were in such a hurry when you ran, Michael. You forgot to close the bedroom window, and I am already inside.
I slowly turned my head toward the hallway, and in the wardrobe mirror I saw a long white arm with inverted joints slowly emerging from the darkness of my bedroom. Have you ever wondered where those strange products that aren't in the catalog come from on supermarket shelves? Mark saw a 7-foot plastic creature arranging human teeth instead of baby food. And now his own face is on the label of a new jar. Check out the story of The Night Merchant if you're not afraid of becoming part of the product range.